Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can turn a flat Zentangle image, like this heart, into one that's layered. This is a free sample video from Lovely Layering, my Design Space training course which teaches you how to make your own layered cardstock designs from right within Cricut Design Space. There'll be more on that at the end of this video, but for now, let's start our Zentangle project. The contour tool is going to be your new best friend when it comes to creating layered designs in Cricut Design Space. It's a way to fill in cut lines on an image so that we can create the different layers that show different parts of the colours through the gaps. In this video, I'm going to give you a brief overview to how the contour works, and we're going to create our first layered design. Open up Cricut Design Space and start a new project. I'm going to use one of the Cricut Access images for this video, but if you don't have Cricut Access, then check out the notes below this video on the page, as I'll add some links in there to where you can find suitable images online for free. I'm going to go into Images and search for Zentangle. And this is going to bring up lots of complex images. Okay, it never used to have all of these in. They're a little bit more complicated than what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to scroll through until I find a fairly simple looking one. This paw print would be a nice one to choose. Let's see. The reason I'm not choosing any of these with all these teeny tiny details is that I think they would just be a bit too hard to cut out from cardstock. I would say that all of these ones here have been designed to be cut from vinyl, where you can go a lot smaller with your cuts, a lot easier. These ones would work quite nicely, these animals with the little flowers on, so if you wanted to choose one of those, you can do. These letters would be great to choose, they're nice and simple. This pumpkin, although the design's fairly simple, the lines are incredibly thin, so I think you'd really struggle cutting that one out with cardstock because that top layer would just be so thin. This hot air balloon would be perfect. It's got nice thick layers on it and it's a fairly simple design. So I'm just going to keep going through and just have a little look and just sort of point out images as we go. This butterfly would probably be okay. The lines might be a little bit thin, but as long as you cut it big, I think it would work. I'm actually going to search for a specific image set of Zentangles, which I know will work a lot better than some of these. So to do that, let's go back into Images and then click All Images at the top to get back to this screen and press Image Sets. And then I'll type in Zentangle in here to actually choose one of the Cricut sets. And then scroll down, and then any ones of these should be okay. I'm going to go for this one, Favorite Zentangle Collection. Let's have a look in here. And oh my goodness, that cow is so cute. I think I'll do that one for the next video, where we cut up the images a little bit. But for this one, we're playing it simple. So I might just go for a heart. A heart's a good one to choose. So I'm going to do this heart one. But any of the images in this image set should be fine as long as you don't choose the inversed ones like this, where it shows the negative space, or like these tortoises. I think they're turtles. You don't want to choose those ones because they don't have the outline around the edge, so you're not going to be able to fill it in properly. But most of them will work fine. And as I said, I've chosen this heart. So let's go and press Add to Canvas. And here it is. I'll turn off my grid lines by clicking the little square where the two rulers meet, just to make it a little bit easier on the eyes to see what I'm doing. We've got our image, so let's start contouring. I'm going to turn this single one layer design into a multi-layered design that we can then cut from different colours of cardstock and layer up together to create our dimensional artwork. The first thing I like to do is to make the very bottom layer. And this is the one where everything is filled in and it will just be a solid heart to cut out. So I'll click on my heart here and press the duplicate button on the top of the layers panel. make it a different colour. I'll probably change the colours a little bit at the end, but for now I just want to make sure that all my layers are really different so it's obvious to see what I'm doing. I'll go into contour, and this is where it is down the bottom of the layers panel. So click into there. And this one is super easy because it's the very bottom and we want to fill everything in. We can just click hide all contours and then close out of that window, and it's filled in all the gaps. At the moment, it's appearing on top of our original layer, which we don't want. As I said, this one's the very bottom one. So I'll go into arrange, center back, and now it will appear underneath. Okay, let's start building up some other layers. So I'll duplicate that top one again. And I'll keep that one as my black one. I'll make this one my second layer. And we'll go for a blue colour. And then put that back on top. If you want to align it exactly, which is actually a good idea, because it'll make it easier to see what we're about to do next, you can click on everything by clicking and dragging around them. And go align, center. And now they're exactly one on top of the other. That means we can't see our blue layer anymore, but don't worry, it is still there. I'm going to scroll along a little bit so that my heart is right over on the left side of the screen. Click on the blue heart and press contour. The reason I moved it was so that I can see the majority of it below my contour window, which means that as we click into the contour window, it's going to update things on here, which will make it easier to see what we're doing. Right, so if the black layer is my top layer, I'm now going to fill in what would be the layer underneath it, so our second layer. And to do that, you can just start clicking into the shapes in the contour window. So hover over the little holes, and when the outline turns black, click it and it will fill it in. You can see that's filled in this little bit here with my blue colour. I am going to try and do the smallest pieces in this colour because then that means on every other layer, these pieces will be filled in. So I'm not gonna have to try and cut them all too much with the Cricut. It's only going to need to cut them for the top layer. And this might take me a little moment to get them all filled in. Sometimes when you are clicking, it takes a little while for it to actually highlight the bit you want. And sometimes if it doesn't highlight it, just move your mouse slowly around the edge and even outside of the shape. And eventually it will pick it up and you'll find it. So just watch for when the outline turns that darker colour, and that's when that bit is selected. Let's go for these bits up here too. There's no real sort of rhyme or reason as to which bits you fill in. It's all just completely up to you. Just let your imagination go wild, and we'll see what we end up with. I'll go for these bits here. Sometimes you might accidentally click into something you don't mean. For example, let's just click into there. I just unselected that one, but you can just click it again. Or if you click into one that you don't want to fill in, let's say that one, just click it again and it will uncontour. Is that a word? Uncontour it again. I'm deciding it's a word. All right, so I'm just going to go through and fill in a few more of these shapes and maybe these leaves. So this one is being tricky. It keeps selecting the shapes above and below it. There we go. You can zoom in. Oh, that was fun. Did you see what it did there? Okay, so what I think it did there was when I clicked the plus arrow, I must have accidentally clicked this outline edge layer as well, which is why it's now inverted all my colours. If yours does that, just click the very top layer over here in the list on the right, and it should put it back for you. So to show you what I did again, I had just clicked, no, there we go. Clicked like that, so click to the very edge. So it contoured that out, which means it then fills in everything in the middle. click that top layer and it will undo it. I like when I make mistakes in these videos because it means I can show how to fix them. Oh, this leaf was being tricky. Oh, I had it then. Does take some patience. Oh, there. So you see my mouse isn't actually touching it, but that's where Design Space decided it was going to highlight it. I'll go for these petals as well. Now this flower is actually going to cut separately from the rest of the heart, because if you look at the outline of it here, it's not touching anything else. That's not a problem because I can just glue it on in the gap, but it's just something to be aware of, that if a little part of your image isn't touching anything else, then it's going to sort of fall apart a bit when we cut it. But that's okay, we can fix it. Let's close this out and see what we've ended up with. If I drag this away, you can see what's happened. So some of these gaps are filled in, and then here's my very bottom layer. Let's see, I'm just going to position these on top of themselves again. I think I'm just going to add in a little bit more blue and just do these little lines down here, because I've done all the other sort of little rows of stripes in the blue. So I think it would make sense to do that one as well. When it's loading the contour window, make sure it's completely loaded before you start clicking. Otherwise, things can go a little bit crazy when you start clicking if it hasn't quite finished loading. And it can be slow. The more complex the image that you're doing, the longer it can take to load it all up in that window. And there we go, I'm happy with that one. So now let's start a new layer. I'm going to click my blue one and duplicate it. I'll change the colour first. Let's go red. Drag it down in the layers panel so it's below my blue one, but still above that bottom yellow one. And then select all, align, and center. Now I can click that red layer. Actually, I'm going to move everything over so I can see it easier. Then click the red one and go into contour again. Wait for it to load. There we go. I'll zoom in a little. Oh, I clicked the edge again. All right, what should we fill in this time? Let's go for... Go for some of these, I think. No, this one doesn't want to be selected. And come on. There we go. See, my mouse is all the way over there for that one to be selected. If you really can't find anything, a layer that you're looking for, or a section that you're looking for, then you can look down this list on the right-hand side. This shows all the pieces. But for something like this heart, where there is a lot on there, it can take a little while, well, a long while really, to find the exact piece you're looking for. But this does show all the different shapes. And yes, I'm going to keep filling these in. Actually, I'm going to do the smaller bits. Sometimes zooming in or sort of using these little scroll bars can suddenly make something be selectable if you're having trouble with it. I cannot get it to find that one at all. All right, I'll try this. Is it that one? Oh, that was easy. It's not normally that nice. Oh, wrong one. All right, so I'm going to, rather than make you just watch me clicking for ages, I'm going to pause this video and continue with my red layer, and then I'll show you when it's finished, and then we can add the next one together. Here we are with my red layer filled in. So if we drag everything apart now, you can see the difference. So we've got a lot less of the spaces showing on this layer. So it's going to show lots of that nice red through. I'm going to add one more layer before I call this finished. So it will be 5 in total. We'll go select all and align center again. Click on the red and duplicate it. Change the color. What haven't we done yet? A green. And then drag it down below that red. Select everything. Align, center. Click on the green layer and let's get contouring. There's not an awful lot left to fill in now, so there might not be a lot of green showing. I'm going to work through some of these remaining areas. I like that you can see it fill in on the little bit here. They did remove that functionality at one point, which made coming up with the layers really difficult because you only had the bit in the pop-up to kind of rely on, and that made it really hard because you couldn't easily see the actual colours and when you were clicking what impact that had on the design as a whole. So I'm really glad that you can now see the little preview in your window behind again. Nope, I think I'll leave that one yellow. It really is kind of just trial and error. Sometimes you might click something and then you don't like it, so you can open it up again. I want this piece here. Oh, there it was. And then let's go for the outline around this flower. And this kind of looks like a leaf. I'll fill that in. That's a lot of yellow around there then. Maybe I'll do it the other way. I'll leave that yellow and fill in some of these stripes instead. There we go. And anything else? Let's close it and have a look. I think I quite like that as it is. Just having a little think, having a little look. I might try this line in the green, just because I feel like there's a lot of yellow there. Yeah, I quite like that. All right, so there we go. That's my 5 layers. I'll move them apart one last time. You can see the effect of them all being filled in. So this would now be ready to resize and cut. But first, I'll probably change the colours around. I like to get the colours looking right in Design Space before cutting it out, just so that if, you know, I can then get a really good idea of what cardstock I'm going to need, and I'll know if it looks good before I cut it out, which is always good. You can see what I mean about this flower being a little problematic because it's going to cut all these pieces out separately, which means I'm going to have to stick them on very carefully. But never mind. It'll look nice when it's done. Right, let's put everything back on top of itself and have a little play with the colours. First, I'm going to group all my layers by pressing group up here, and that means now I can just move it about and resize it and everything's going to move together. And let's have a think. I might go for all different bits of red, seeing as it's a heart, I guess. Let's have a play. Maybe some purple in there. That was a lot of purple. There's obviously a lot of that colour in there somewhere. Oh, I don't like the purple. No. Maybe... Oh, that's quite nice. It's sort of blue. And you are not limited to just these colours. When you click into advanced, you can move things about. So that red was too bright compared to everything else. No, I'm not sure I like the blue. Maybe it should be red. Or white, possibly. Oh, that's quite nice. Maybe gold. This is one of my favourite parts, the choosing the colours. Gold's quite nice. And then my top layer, rather than being black, a dark grey or maybe a super dark red, because I know I've got some cardstock which is really, really, really dark red. That would work nicely for that one. Maybe a white. That's quite nice. It's kind of Art Deco-y. It reminds me of like old-fashioned carpet or something like that. I quite like those colours. I'm going to go with that. So I've got 3 shades of red, the really dark one, a mid one, and a light one, and then a gold and a white. So yeah, let's resize everything. This is quite a good size to cut it out at. You don't want to make it too small because you've got the thin edges. They're, you know, not super thin. I think you could probably go to around 5 inches on the shortest side for this one. I'll make mine a little bigger so it'll be easier to see when I put it together. So I'll do mine 7 inches tall. And yeah, I'm just going to try a slight off-white. Honestly, I could be playing with the colours all day. If I cut that from like an ivory... Oh, I think that's nicer. It's not as stark as it was with the white. Before we do anything else though, we should probably save what we're doing. And we actually should have been doing that as we went along. I am terrible at remembering to save stuff though. Really bad. I really need to like make a note on my desk or something that says save. But we'll do it now. So I'll click into save. And if you have Cricut Access, you could maybe create a new collection and call it Lovely Layering. And then you could save all of your... I cannot spell. You could save all of your test projects from this course in there. So let's click into there and I will call this Heart Zentangle. And press save. Fabulous. All right, so then I would cut this out from my cardstock. I'm not going to go through a whole cutting tutorial. I'll drop a link in the notes under this video for a separate tutorial, which does go through how to cut cardstock on a Cricut. So if you're brand new to that, then check that one out, and it has loads of handy tips in there. I'll also drop under this video a link to a PDF file with some tips in there on cutting cardstock with a Cricut. It's just a nice little handy guide you can print out and put next to you. And then it's just a few little things to remember when cutting out, but also it's got some troubleshooting tips for maybe if your cardstock's ripping or tearing, or if it's not cutting all the way through. It's got some things on there that you can try. I'll go ahead and cut mine out and then we'll see how to stick it together. Here are my layers cut out from cardstock. I've got myself in a bit of a tiz with the middle of those flowers, just like I thought I was going to do, but we're going to roll with it and see what happens. So I've cut mine from sort of shiny light gold on the bottom. I changed the colours a little bit from what it was in Design Space. Then I've got a red, a rose gold, very pretty. And then my mid-red, and then the darkest red on top. So when they're all layered up, that's going to look really nice and shiny and sparkly. And then I've got my flower bits to go in there. So let's start sticking it together. And this will vary depending on how many layers you've done and also the design you're doing. But generally, when I'm trying to decide whether to add 3D foam squares or glue to a layer, I judge it based on what's already gone down. So is it already loads of layers and is it a bit too tall? Do I need to start gluing some? Or is this the first layer? Does it have lots of nice filled in pieces that I can add my foam squares to? Or is it really intricate and thin? If it's really intricate and thin, like this top one, that would always be a glue layer in my opinion, because the foam would be really difficult to fit in there. But this one, it's got lots of nice spaces to add the foam to it. And also it's the first layer we're putting down, so it'd be nice to get the dimension. Right, there's my foam, and I've put some in the middle as well as around the edge, so it'll be nice and stable when it's all stuck. And now I can peel the tops off of the foam squares to reveal all of the stickiness underneath. It's really cold here today, and my fingers are not bending as they should because I'm so cold. I turned the heating off so that the boiler wasn't going really loudly when I was recording this. So yeah, I'm not quite as dexterous. My fingers aren't bending right. Let's just say that. What's that word? Can't think. Anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent there. So here is my first layer, and I'm going to gently line it up with that bottom and then drop it down. The reason for that is that it won't actually stick, it's just lead on top the other. So if I wanted to, if I wasn't quite happy with how it was lined up, I could pick it up and move it without damaging anything. But I am happy with that, so I'll push down to seal. My next layer is my rose gold, and I think again for this one I'll use some more foam squares. There's that layer, and you can see me and my camera in that because it's so shiny. At this point I'm going to get my flower in. This bottom layer of it will be foamed so that it's sort of sitting up with everything else. I should have kept the flower in the other colours because this is my darker colour, but I didn't because I got all confused with what bits I was supposed to be keeping and what bits I wasn't. So yeah, I've messed this up a little bit, but it's still going to look really nice. I don't think I've done that quite right. Just tuck the petals under. It's not a symmetrical flower, so I don't think I've stuck that round the right way. Just tuck those petals under. There we go. Never mind. Alright, I've also got the outline to go on the top of that flower. I'll glue that one, and I'll probably get this stuck around the wrong way as well. I suppose I could have doubled up my foam squares under that first flower, so put like 2 or 3 on top of each other, and then the flower would have been the right height, but never mind. It's kind of annoying that this is not symmetrical on all the petals. I think that one's right. Okay. And then I will tuck those under again. I should have done this before sticking the rose gold layer on. But never mind, we're going to make it work. That's what crafting's all about. Okay, so really from this video you're just learning what not to do, but that's okay. Right, my next layer is this one, and I could either glue or foam it. There's probably still enough, just about enough pieces on there to add the foam to, but I'm going to glue it because it's going to be easier. And then it won't seem so far away from that flower. Line this one up. I'm just going to push down really gently because I don't want any of that glue to smush out the sides. And I've also got my little circles for the middle of the flower. I'm not sure I want to put them in there because I kind of like it being gold. Oh, I've got a rose gold circle. Maybe I'll just do that. So what I like about these, you can play with it once it's cut as well and just see what you think is going to work. So I'm just going to leave the flower like that and get rid of all those other pieces. My last layer is this one, the really intricate one, which will definitely be a glue layer. Again, this will just be put on ever so gently. Stop that glue smushing out. And now here we are, my 5-layer heart. So all of that shiny gold card is finished and looking absolutely beautiful. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Oh, I dropped it. Told you my hands were cold. If we put it in the light, you can just see all of that shimmering. It's very, very pretty. And there we go. That's this lesson all finished. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to turn a flat Zentangle image in Design Space into a layered design that you can cut from cardstock. This video was just a brief overview into the power of the contour tool and the type of layered designs that you can create straight from within Design Space itself. If you'd like to learn more about layering, including how to make more complex layered designs, such as shadow boxes, greetings cards, or any kind of layering design you can think of, then check out my lovely layering training course. From turning flat images into layered designs to mastering shadow boxes, mandala letters, shadow outlines on text, and even giant off-the-mat signs, your Cricut possibilities you can unleash will be endless. I'm excited to announce that my lovely layering training course has been completely revamped and updated for 2023, and it's all ready and available now. Lovely Layering is a collection of step-by-step video lessons which teaches you how to make all kinds of layered designs from within Cricut Design Space. You'll start with simple projects that teach the basics of design in Cricut Design Space, then each future lesson builds on what you've already learned as the projects start to get even more impressive. But don't worry, you don't need any graphic design or drawing skills, or even any experience at using Cricut Design Space. Everything is covered in the lessons in simple, easy-to-follow steps. Find out more at craftwithsarah.com/lovely-layering or follow the link in the description of this video. Let's take a look at the lessons which are included. Lesson 1 is one of the most popular lessons inside Lovely Layering. It teaches how to turn a flat, one-layer design, such as this Zentangle heart, into one that's layered. You'll then go one step further by making a more detailed design, such as this cow. For this one, rather than just filling in the entire lessons as a whole, as with the heart you just saw, we'll chop bits out of the image to give a realistic sense of perspective and depth when looking at the completed design. I love this cow. It looks so lifelike as the face and nose pop out more than the ears and horns, giving the illusion that they're really sat there looking at you. You'll master editing tools within Design Space, such as Contour, Slice, and Combine. Don't worry if you haven't used them before or if you're not quite sure how to use them, because all you need is included in the video lessons. Lesson 2 of Lovely Layering is how to use the Offset tool to add shadow outlines to text to make fun cake toppers or greeting card topper designs. Lesson 3 uses those same techniques, but we apply them to images instead of text. Lesson 4 is how to design your own shadow box scenes. This is where you combine pre-made images to design your own shadow boxes. I'll show you some top tips for ensuring an effective 3D design that shows the layers perfectly, and then you'll also see how to make it sit inside your shadow box and stick it all together. Lesson 5 builds on that shadow box technique, but this time it's all about how to make a layered design inside a shape. I'll show you how to do it with this unicorn head design. You'll also see how to turn this into a light-up shadow box with LED strips behind it. Lesson 6 is how to make layer greetings cards. I've taken one of the most popular card designs from my website and turned it into a video tutorial so you can make your own matching designs with whatever text you want. For Lesson 7, you'll see how to make custom backgrounds as part of this stencil letter shadow box, then how to turn the flat design into something layered. Lesson 8 is my personal favourite, designing layered letters. It comes in 2 parts, the first of which is making this beautiful rose design. Then delve deeper into Design Space to make a more complex letter with patterns inside and a custom filigree leaf background. Sometimes you might have the perfect image that you want to turn into a layered design, but it's a silhouette or some other type of image with no pattern inside. Does that mean you can't use it? Oh no! Lesson 9 shows you how to turn silhouette images into outlines, then add patterns or mandalas inside of them to make truly custom designs. Lesson 10 is how to design your own layered clocks. I think these are really fun and they make excellent gifts for birthdays or Christmas for your family members and friends. Lesson 11 is a newer lesson all about designing word scenes, which is when you take a whole word and create images behind it so that throughout each letter of the word you see a different part of the design. Finally, Lesson 12 is a short and sweet end to the course, which shows how to use the offset tool to make stepped shadow boxes. In total, these lessons will teach you all the skills you need to master creating layered cardstock designs with your Cricut machine. If you're interested in learning how to make your own designs, check out craftwithsarah.com/lovely-layering or click the link in the description of this video. Lovely Layering is constantly evolving so it stays up to date with the latest Design Space changes and to make sure it contains all the types of projects you want to make. I'm working on 3 additional lessons at the moment, which will be released later in 2023. These are designing floral bouquets, designing paper wreaths, and this is a big one, designing your own giant off-the-mat wall art signs. By purchasing Lovely Layering now, you get all those updates for free as soon as they are released. So what are you waiting for? Head to craftwithsarah.com/lovely-layering right now to sign up. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about Lovely Layering, leave a comment on this video or email sarah@craftwithsarah.com. Thank you for watching. Bye!